I would love to be proven wrong here, and you know how the thing goes, where when I say something is going to happen, the exact opposite is going to happen. So, here's hoping for once I'm actually, I do this intentionally. I don't want a thing to come along in the next chapter to just invalidate this. Okay, so what was that? 8 pages? Yeah, that is some good disappointment right there. Set up a story that could fill a whole chapter and then only use a third of it? That checks out. Alright, I'm being unfair. That's just how Clamp writes. They give you an interesting idea, make up a nice little framework for it, and then leave it at that. I get it. That's been their entire career, basically. They're limited to less than 30 pages. There's only so much they can do. Let me just put all that aside and hope that the anime gives this concept the treatment that it deserves. Let's talk about the content that we've got. And yeah, we're definitely getting that anime eventually. I know I have no basis to make that claim, but it's gonna happen. Except, whenever I say something that confidently, the opposite always happens. Hey everyone, I'm CCYamato, and this is Chapter 51 of the Clear Card, which begins where we left off in Chapter 50, with Sakura being flung into a fabricated world where no one knows her because Momo wants to teach her a lesson in misery. In this chapter, she runs into her family, her friends, and naturally, she runs into Shaoran, but before she can meet anyone else who doesn't recognize her, Kaito shows up and interrupts the lesson. I guess that heart attack he was having in the previous chapter was the more mild variety. Something that you can just shake off with a Tylenol in a pep talk. Kaito and Momo exposit at each other for a while, and Kaito once again explains how he needs a specific card from Sakura to do his magic, and Momo counters with the totally deep philosophical question of why is Kaito doing this? I'm not going to go into details here because there's nothing really added, but I do want to spotlight a bit of an oopsie in the early English translations where Momo reveals that Kaito's real name is Mana, which by the way is a terrible name, but the fans had a field day with it. But yeah, it's a mistranslation, his name's not actually Mana, don't get too excited. We still don't know what his actual real name is, which, for the record, I've never liked that writing trope about how, ooh, you have a real name and magical who's a what's it's whatever. It's always come off as super contrived to me, and they make it sound like it's a super deep thing, but nah, I've never liked this convention, and I almost wish his real name was Mana just so it could be a huge letdown. As is normal at this point, Kaito rewinds time, but he clearly doesn't go back far enough for as far as he really intended. He only gets to about the moment where Akiho fell over, or that her magic activated. But it is far enough to return things to the status quo, which you'll remember my Chapter 49 prediction saying exactly that would happen. So hey, I actually predicted something. It's just really not something I wanted. Yay! To wrap it up, Sakura returns home and reveals that she made a new card. This one's called Time, so officially we have a time card in the manga now. And she doesn't remember doing it, just like some of the other times that time travel shenanigans have been involved, but a card was made. We also see that even though she doesn't remember the specifics of what happened, she still has lingering feelings caused by them, as you can see in this page where she mentions that she had an uneasy feeling going home, though she can't explain why. And honestly, that's probably for the better for her, at least. Despite my disappointment with the amount of time we spent in Momo's illusion, I actually do like this chapter, and I think it was efficient for what it needed to do for the story. Sakura's stay in Momo's illusion was short, but impactful, especially when she runs into Tomoyo, and double that when she runs into Shaoran. In fact, the illusion breaks right there, timed perfectly with where Sakura's likely breaking point was, and had it been allowed to go on any further, she probably would have had a full meltdown. Fortunately, Kaito keeps it from reaching that point, but don't let the fact that Kaito steps in to end the illusion and also wipes her mind by rewinding time make him seem like a hero. It's definitely a pragmatic move on his part, and he says as much in this chapter. To put it simply, he can't allow Momo to break Sakura before he's done using her to make the card he needs. Oh, and on the topic of the illusion, I know this is terrible to say, but the interaction with Tomoyo is probably my favorite part. Unfortunately, that's probably due to another potential mistranslation instead of intent by Clamp. See, in the illusion, when Chiharu asks Tomoyo if Sakura is a friend, Tomoyo responds with this simple nope, which several peers point out to me is a bit out of character, not because she's denying knowing Sakura, obviously, that's the whole point. The problem is it's a weird choice for Tomoyo's normally very refined way of speaking. It's linguistically so casual that it doesn't fit Tomoyo's character. But if you ask me, the fact that the word choice is so off is what makes the line work. After all, this is an illusion that's supposed to hurt Sakura. It's all fabricated by Momo, and it makes sense that it would be modeled to cause as much psychological damage as possible. It might be a mistake, but it's a mistake that I think actually works to the advantage of the narrative, because it makes Tomoyo sound all the more dismissive. Now, if the high point of this was the illusion, the low point was Momo and Kaito segment. Because it's not really giving us anything new to work with that we haven't already figured out. I like that Momo takes a minute to chastise Kaito for basically ruining her fun with Sakura, but most of the conversation centers around trying to get Kaito to admit what his endgame is, as well as pushing him to admit to himself the glaringly obvious reasons for why he's going to these lengths. Honestly, I find this conversation to be pretty mundane, and it's nothing we as the audience haven't figured out. It's for Akiho, duh. But hey, as someone who has the emotional depth of a tablespoon, I guess I should be sympathizing with Kaito? The problem is I'm not, because I'm tired of him. Here's hoping that Chapter 52 gives us more to work with, though given the general history of Cardcaptor Sakura, after this very high period, I'm gonna guess that the next chapter is probably gonna be a little low. At the time I'm recording this, the next chapter is actually going to come out in about a week, so I apologize that this came out so late. I've just had a very busy March. Not really working on anything Cardcaptor related. It's just life kind of caught up with me. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Do all your YouTube things, please. And I hope to have some more content for you very soon.